In 2025, the shadows of the past have come crashing back on Robert Wagner. New revelations about Natalie Wood's tragic drowning in 1981 have ignited the mystery once again, and this time, investigators are pointing the finger more directly than ever. Once a Hollywood icon, Wagner now lives in near seclusion at 95, his rare appearances fueling whispers that guilt and unanswered questions have finally caught up to him. The truth he's avoided for decades may no longer stay hidden. But what really happened that night? Eyewitnesses recall Natalie Wood vanishing during a late-night trip aboard her husband's yacht, the Splendor. Yet the darkest detail came from the crew itself. Robert Wagner reportedly stopped the captain from launching an immediate search. And when the case was reopened years later, Wagner refused to cooperate, leaving investigators and the public to wonder what he was hiding. More than 4 decades have passed, but the mystery hasn't faded. Instead, it has grown into one of Hollywood's most haunting, unresolved tragedies. To uncover the truth, we must return to the very beginning, the life of a woman who seemed destined for the spotlight from the moment she was born. Natalie Wood entered the world on July 20, 1938, in San Francisco. Born Natalia Nikolaevna Zakharenko to Russian immigrant parents Maria and Nikolai, her family arrived in America with almost nothing but hope. Struggling to make ends meet, they seized every opportunity that came their way, and fate intervened when, at just 4 years old, Natalie was discovered, setting her on a path to stardom that would change her life forever. After the family settled in Santa Rosa, fate intervened in the most unexpected way. A film crew arrived in town, shooting near their neighborhood. Among the crowd of curious onlookers was little Natalie, whose presence immediately caught the eye of the filmmakers. They offered her a tiny part, and soon she appeared in Happy Land, on screen for just 15 fleeting seconds. But those few moments were enough. Hollywood had noticed. Director Irving Pichel recognized a rare spark in the young girl. He kept in contact with the family, convinced that the right role could turn Natalie into something extraordinary. When that role finally appeared, Pichel urged Maria, Natalie's determined mother, to seize the chance. Against her husband's hesitation, Maria didn't think twice. She packed up the family and moved them to Los Angeles. She was certain, Natalie was destined for greatness. That belief was soon proven right. At only 7 years old, Natalie landed her first major role in Tomorrow is Forever, 1946, acting alongside legends Orson Welles and Claudette Colbert. Instead of crumbling under the pressure, the young starlet thrived. Even Welles himself later admitted, it was amazing how she didn't just recite lines, she lived them. She performed with genuine passion. It was evident that Natalie was not just another child actress. People were beginning to take notice. Soon, she signed with 20th Century Fox and secured a role as Jean Tion's daughter in The Ghost and Mrs. Muir. However, her real breakthrough occurred later that same year in Miracle on 34th Street. In this film, she portrayed a clever little girl who doubted the existence of Santa Claus. The movie swiftly became a Christmas classic, catapulting Natalie into the spotlight. Following Miracle on 34th Street, she emerged as one of Hollywood's most renowned child stars. Her fame escalated to the point where she received an invitation to participate in Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, a rare privilege for someone so young. Yet, behind the glitz and glamour, the life of a child actor was anything but simple. California law mandated that child performers spend a minimum of 3 hours each day in school while on set. To comply with this requirement, Natalie studied on location, diligently keeping up with her studies until she reached 18. She was an honor roll student who excelled in mathematics. Director Joseph L. Mankiewicz, who collaborated with her on The Ghost and Mrs. Muir, once referred to her as the most intelligent child he had ever encountered. While acting might have appeared to be a dream career, the truth was quite harsh. By the age of 8, Natalie was working up to 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. The pressures were relentless, and few considered the toll it took on her. Nevertheless, the young girl was tenacious, and her career advanced in the mid-1950s when she starred in Rebel Without a Cause. Critics were highly impressed with Natalie's performance, lauding her ability to convey authentic and intense emotions. It was clear that she approached her work with utmost seriousness. However, making the film was not without its difficulties. Natalie and her co-star Dennis Hopper were involved in a car accident, resulting in minor injuries. Yet, the true tragedy unfolded shortly after filming concluded. Tragedy struck Rebel without a cause even before it hit theaters. James Dean, the film's magnetic lead, was killed in a car crash, leaving the cast and crew devastated. Yet when the film was finally released, it wasn't just remembered for Dean's tragic end, it became a cultural landmark. Critics and audiences alike praised the performances, and Natalie's work stood out above all. In 1956, her talent was formally recognized. At just 17, she earned an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress. Though she didn't take home the statue, the nomination proved that Natalie wasn't just another young actress, she had the skill and depth to compete at the very top of Hollywood. That same year, she received a Golden Globe for Most Promising Newcomer, officially cementing her status as one of the brightest rising stars in the industry. But behind the applause and flashing lights, success carried a heavy cost. The pressures of growing up under constant scrutiny left Natalie vulnerable. At only 16, she entered into a deeply controversial relationship with director Nicholas Ray, who was 43. Many believe this entanglement blurred the line between her real life and her on-screen role as Judy, a troubled teenager searching for love and acceptance. For Natalie, the boundary between art and reality was already beginning to fade. 2 years later, Natalie confessed that her relationship with Nicholas Ray had left scars, calling it painful and something that never should have happened. Yet even as her personal life carried regrets, her career was ascending higher than ever. No longer seen as a child star, she had firmly established herself as one of Hollywood's most gifted leading ladies. Her breakthrough came with Splendor in the Grass, where she delivered a haunting portrayal of a young woman torn apart by love, heartbreak, and mental illness. The film was both a critical and commercial triumph, earning Natalie her second Academy Award nomination and proving she had the depth to tackle the most challenging roles. Hot on the heels of that success, she stunned audiences again as Maria in West Side Story. As the innocent Puerto Rican girl caught in a doomed romance, Natalie brought warmth and vulnerability to one of cinema's most enduring musicals. The film went on to win 10 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, and cemented her place in Hollywood history. But Natalie wasn't finished pushing boundaries. In 1963, she took on the daring role of a woman grappling with an unplanned pregnancy in love with the proper stranger. The performance was raw, honest, and ahead of its time, earning her a third Academy Award nomination and solidifying her reputation as one of the most fearless and versatile actresses of her generation. Natalie's career took a significant shift with these roles. Natalie, who was just in her mid-20s, had become one of the most significant actors in Hollywood. It wasn't enough for Natalie, though. She desired improvement. She felt stuck in the middle of success. She had mastered certain parts, and now they were the only ones being presented to her. She made a startling decision in the middle of the 1960s because she sought more difficult job. In addition to refusing big-budget movies like Barefoot in the Park because she felt they wouldn't further her acting career, she spent $175,000 to terminate her Warner Brothers contract. However, leaving the Hollywood system had repercussions. Offers slowed and she lost visibility. Managing her personal issues and advancing her job at the same time became too much to handle. She overdosed on sleeping pills in an attempt to end her life in the same year. Although she lived, the experience made her take stock and reconsider everything. She therefore made the decision to take a sabbatical from performing, fire her entire crew, and concentrate on her mental well-being. She made a comeback to the big screen 3 years later in 1969, starring in the unorthodox movie Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice, which was an immediate hit. In order to spend more time with her family and adapt to the evolving entertainment industry, Natalie switched her concentration from big-budget movies to television at the start of the 1970s. She portrayed a married woman engaged in a covert romance in The Affair, her first major television role, in 1973. With almost 30 million viewers, the show was an enormous success, demonstrating that she could command attention on the tiny screen just as she had in movies. She soon played Maggie in a television adaptation of Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, a part that Elizabeth Taylor popularized. She added her own depth and style to the role, according to critics, who applauded her. The miniseries From Here to Eternity, in which Natalie featured, went on to become a huge television event in 1979. Over the course of 5 nights, it attracted about 40 million spectators every night. After 7 prior nominations, she finally received a Golden Globe for her performance, which was critically praised. During this time, Natalie's personal life also underwent changes. All she had ever wanted as a young girl was to marry Robert Wagner. She once assured her mother that she would wed him in the future. That dream became a reality when she reached 18. They started dating, and after a brief courtship, they were married in Scottsdale, Arizona, on December 28, 1957. They were viewed as Hollywood's golden couple by the general public. However, things were not as ideal behind closed doors. Robert slowed down as Natalie's career took off, and the disparity caused friction. Their marriage was in jeopardy by the early 1960s. According to certain rumors, Natalie once discovered Robert in their home in a compromising scenario with another man. If it were true, it would have sparked a controversy at the time. Their romance ended for whatever cause. They split up in June 1961, and their divorce was finalized on April 27, 1962. Following their breakup, Natalie started dating Warren Beatty. However, their relationship was turbulent and characterized by frequent arguments. Later on, she acknowledged that it was emotionally draining. In contrast, Robert suffered greatly after losing her. After leaving Los Angeles, he tried to recover in Europe for a while. Through their common acquaintance Robert Redford, Natalie met British producer Richard Gregson, with whom she later married for the second time. They dated for 3 years before getting married in a Russian Orthodox ceremony in California on May 30, 1969. This initially appeared to be the new beginning she required. Richard provided her with a sense of security because he had already experienced divorce and emotional upheaval. When their daughter Natasha was born in September 1970, their joy increased. However, things quickly started to shift. Richard became aloof as Natalie focused her energies on being a mother. He eventually cheated on Natalie with her secretary. She was devastated to learn of the betrayal. She kicked him out of their house, confronted him right away, and filed for divorce on August 4, 1971. Despite the agony of the heartbreak, Natalie persevered and concentrated on raising Natasha. 10 years after their divorce, Natalie and Robert reconnected in 1972. Both had married other individuals while they were apart. Actress Marion Marshall was married to Robert, and Richard was married to Natalie. Both were once more unmarried by the beginning of 1972. And they reignited their affair in January of that year. Despite advice from friends to calm down, Natalie felt that she and Robert had matured and evolved, and that their love was stronger this time. They remarried on July 16, 1972, after a quick and passionate reunion. It appeared that their second marriage was stronger than their first. Together, Natalie and Robert welcomed their daughter, and Robert accepted the role of Natasha's stepfather. Their family life appeared ideal for a while, full of love and a feeling of rejuvenation. She acted far less frequently than she did in the 1950s and 1960s since she was now more focused on her family. It appeared that the couple had at last found true happiness and were living the family life they had always desired. However, that joy abruptly ended in the early 1980s when Natalie's life was abruptly ended for unknown reasons. Natalie was working on Brainstorm, a science fiction thriller that would be her last film. She portrayed a scientist developing a tool to capture human feelings. Natalie traveled to Catalina Island with her husband Robert Wagner, co-star Christopher Walken, and yacht's captain Dennis Davin in late November of that year on their vessel, the Splendor. What started off as a peaceful vacation descended into tragedy. The original plan was for additional friends to accompany them, but ultimately, it was only the 4 of them. They anchored close to the little Catalina town of Avalon on Friday after departing Marina del Rey. While the captain stayed with the boat, Natalie, Robert, and Christopher went shopping and had a few drinks. Everything appeared to be as usual, but that would all change the following evening. The weather was deteriorating on Saturday, so Robert made the decision to move the yacht to a more peaceful location. The waves were turbulent and the night was windy and cold. They dined at the lone eatery in the region, Doug's Harbor Reef, that night. They got there early in the evening and drank wine, champagne, and cocktails for hours. They were inebriated when they departed. Later, the employees remembered how drunk they had been. Voices were raised shortly after they got back to the yacht. According to reports, Robert said, "Get off my boat." A woman named Marilyn Wayne and her boyfriend John Payne were on a neighboring ship at this time when they heard a woman's voice pleading for assistance. For around 15 minutes before it ended, the voice called, "Help me someone, I am drowning." The voice, they said, appeared to be coming from the direction of the yacht Splendor. Additionally, they reported hearing a male who seemed inebriated respond, "Okay, honey." Natalie was later discovered dead. According to the fresh information provided by Marilyn Wayne in the investigation of her death, Natalie once told her that Robert had threatened to kill her. These statements implied that Natalie's marriage was much more problematic than others realized, if they were accurate. The delay in sounding the alarm was another mystery. It took until early in the morning, more than 4 hours after her last sighting, to get in touch with the Coast Guard. Her body was subsequently discovered by the captain of the rescue boat, who said he wasn't informed until nearly 6 hours later. Suspicions over the handling of her disappearance were only heightened by that delay. She had a high blood alcohol level, painkillers, and motion sickness pills in her system, according to an autopsy. The strange circumstances and the combination of medication and alcohol made it harder to believe what actually happened. Natalie and Robert reportedly got into a furious argument that evening as well. Tension-filled, according to witnesses. The case took a significant turn in August 2012. Natalie's cause of death was listed as accidental drowning on her death certificate for many years. However, the record was changed to drowning and other unknown factors following months of new investigation. Around this time, Vanner's own narrative started to change. He acknowledged that he had argued with actor Christopher Walken regarding Natalie's career and that there had been a lot of drinking that evening. He admitted that he became angry, grabbed a bottle of wine, slammed it against the table, and broke it. His previous remarks, which minimized the gravity of the evening, were in stark contrast to this revelation. The night on the ship was significantly more tumultuous than Vanner had described, and his remarks now more closely matched what Captain Dennis Davin had been telling for years. A turning point was reached when Vanner's comments became inconsistent and Natalie's official cause of death was altered. Many started to wonder if something more nefarious had occurred or if her death had truly been an accident. Vanner's unwillingness to participate completely was among the most concerning aspects. Lieutenant John Carina publicly stated that Vanner's account of events did not align with the accounts of other witnesses when the case was revisited in 2018. Vanner was formally designated as a person of interest in the same year, some 37 years after Natalie's passing. Even Christopher Walken, who was on the yacht that evening, said very nothing. He did, however, finally speak in a 2012 magazine interview. He said that because Natalie was by herself when she entered the sea, only she could know the truth. She had gone to bed earlier than the others, he remembered, and he assumed she had gone outside to secure a tiny boat that was crashing into the side of the yacht. When a horrible secret about Natalie's life was made public in 2021, things took a further turn. In a book that her sister Lana wrote, she revealed something Natalie had previously told her. When Natalie was just 16 years old in 1955, their mother set up a meeting with actor Kirk Douglas in the hopes that his connections might advance her daughter's career. He had the ability to open doors that others could not, making him one of Hollywood's most powerful men. But the evening turned gloomy. Natalie appeared disturbed and her clothes were a mess when she got back to the car. She frantically whispered something to her mom. Even as a little child, Lana sensed that something was seriously amiss, but she did not comprehend. Years later, Natalie confided in her younger sister and finally told the truth. She told Lana, "He hurt me." Lana said in her book that Natalie had been viciously raped and Kirk Douglas was the assailant. While this new knowledge didn't immediately contribute more to the mystery of her death, viewers learned how terrible things had been for young Natalie and why some of her decisions at the time weren't just out of the blue. Robert Wagner was initially a person of interest in the death of Natalie, but was later removed. However, homicide police now have reason to think that Robert was cheating on Natalie before her death with Jill St. John. Jill, now 85, had always stated she didn't start seeing Robert until 3 months after Natalie's death. This is different from what Splendor's skipper Dennis Davin had told the National Enquirer. He had said, "I assume Jill stepped into the program previous to Natalie's death." He even said he was confined inside Robert's estate following Natalie's death to keep him hushed and that Jill was also there. In Dennis's phrases, "She turned into at Vanner's residence right away, however I could not see what changed into going on due to the fact I was trapped in that room." He brought that he could most effective go away when observed by using Robert's thugs. Any other insider who refused to be named had this to mention of Robert regarding Natalie's mysterious death. "The reminiscences won't depart him on my own, but he'd as an alternative move slowly into the woodwork than confront the beyond. He is aware of he doesn't have a big amount of time left and he's concerned something will pop out to damn him forever. Surely, a few vital data is yet to come back to existence and it is simply no longer searching too accurate." Natalie would become genuine. Lifestyles changed into packed with brilliance, but also shadowed by ache and unanswered questions. From her early rise as a talented infant superstar to her struggles with personal trauma and the mysterious situations of her demise. Her tale shows both the beauty and the darkness of Hollywood. Tragically, Natalie died on November 29, 1981 on the age of 43 earlier than filming changed into complete. Most of her scenes had already been shot, but manufacturing become put on preserve. And at one point, the studio even notion about cancelling the challenge to accumulate coverage money. Director Douglas Trumbull, however, fought to complete the movie as a tribute to her. The lacking scenes had been completed the usage of careful enhancing, body doubles, and even Natalie's sister, Lana Timber. Brainstorm changed into in the end launched in September of 1983, almost 2 years after her demise. Even as it was not a first-rate container office achievement, critics praised its resourceful special effects and ambitious storytelling. Through the years, it received a cult following and came to be visible as a crucial piece of science fiction cinema. Beyond its futuristic subject matters, the movie includes deep emotional weight as Natalie's very last overall performance, making it an enduring and effective part of her Hollywood legacy.